F1 2021 is out. Another game by Codemasters. Let's talk about it.
Let's be about this gosh damn racing game, which, as a non-racer, I will say this, all right? I'm going to come out and say it. I'm not a big racer. You're a better racer than I will ever be in any racing game. It's not bad. It's not bad. And I'm just going to let you do your talking because I know you got a lot to say about this game. So go ahead. The floor.
I'm busy over here seething in anger. I
The
just
floor
don't
is
know.
yours.
So, like he mentioned, I'm a little bit biased toward F1. I'm a huge Formula One fan. I mean, if you can see my camera right now, I'm sitting in front of a Formula One poster, looking at another Formula One poster,
Sickening.
staring at a Formula One shirt next to me. I am a fanatic for Formula One. I've been following it since 2008 and have been in love with the F1 series by Codemasters since 2008. Now, this is the first year that EA took over Codemasters, and some of EA might bleed in, but more than not, most of the development was done under Codemasters. You don't really notice a difference. You might in the future. And the Breaking Point storyline they added kind of has some of that influence, but let's talk a little bit about what's new for the year first, get that out of the way. I think I'll handle this one since I played last year's and you missed out on that.
And the year before, and then before that.
Well, yeah, you missed out on a couple years here and there. But new this year, they got rid of the historic cars. A lot of people like the older cars playing from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s. You know, racing around a Schumacher Ferrari is always a fantastic feeling with that V10 and V12 going. This year, they went with just F1 2021 cars. You do get to experience the 2020 cars as part of the Breaking Point story, and then you do get an F2 season, which they'll have a full season of coming a little bit later this year. They added in some of the legends like Senna and Prost, Schumacher and Rosberg, Button, Coulthard, and Massa, but only if you get the deluxe edition, and they'll only show up in your My Team mode. It's a little bit weird. Only you can recruit them, and it's kind of awesome to drive next to, you know, Ayrton Senna, and it just becomes a hassle, though, to try to beat them when they're in the same car as you and they're just perfect drivers. Also, the new this year, Imola, Portimao, and Jeddah, even though as of the time of this recording, only Portimao is in the game, just came out. Imola should be added in October and Jeddah in November to correspond with the street race that's happening there for the first time. The online co-op career is back, which is what we've mainly been playing. And then Breaking Point is new in the story. Let's start with what you know about it, which is the online co-op career.
Well, I gotta say, and I will say, let me chime in about the Breaking Point being brand new to the series. I did like that there's a little bit of this story / campaign, if you will, to kind of get you up to speed on all things that you would be experiencing in a regular season as a non-racer. So I think that's kind of cool. They give you all the scenarios to kind of get you up to speed. And I will say they spared no expense on these cutscenes in the game. I think you'll agree. I don't know, again, how the past seasons have done, but it looks visually stunning on the cutscenes. Everything about it looks great.
Yeah, the cutscenes are a new thing. Normally you get the cuts at the end for the podium celebrations, and it's all in-engine. Doesn't look too great. I mean, you can recognize, if you're an F1 fan, you recognize some team principals and some drivers, but past that, it's rough. But in this, the cutscenes were professionally done by a third-party studio, and they look great. Starting out in one of 5 of the smaller teams and just kind of working your way through. For those who have played in previous seasons, Devin Butler makes a return from 2019 as kind of your arch nemesis. And you get to go through a real quick Formula 2 season, and then you get bumped up to one of the Formula 1 teams with the eventual goal to go to a higher team, one of the top 3, depending on what engine supplier you have for your lower team that you start. And it was a real good introduction. Story-wise, I don't think it was too great. I mean, it was very generic story. The cutscenes were beautiful, and it, like he said, gave a great introduction to all different scenarios, you know, whether it's mechanical failure or flat tires, or it's starting to rain and you got to switch tires because you're starting to drive on slicks in the wet and it's no good. I mean, it's a lot of different scenarios it introduces you to that prepares you for the full F1
Yeah, and
game.
like I was saying, being new to the series, I feel like that is much needed because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what you need to do. I didn't even know the rules going into this game before I played it. And when you have to pit one time, each race unless it's raining. I mean, that all is new to me. So just kind of neat things that they kind of teach you and kind of get you up to speed if you're brand new to racing. But again, as a non-racer, it's not a bad game, I gotta say. For coming into it, graphically wise, it looks good. Sounds, I mean, I don't know if there's anything more on graphics or visuals you want to hit on, but it's solid.
I mean, graphically, it does look good. You know, the 4K 60 that it has on the PS5, which is what we're reviewing this on, it looks like a gorgeous game. The tracks are well done, especially the new Portimao track being laser scanned. It is, every detail is in there. The cars, there's some hit and miss. They're generic beginning of the season sponsors, so if you're watching the real F1 season and follow along with it, you know, YG Power on Ferrari is still on the car in the game, but it's missing since the beginning of the season. They're a little behind on updating all that. But other than that, if you're not a super Formula One nerd like me, you're not going to notice a difference. These look like the cars. They look great. And sound-wise, they definitely did an upgrade on the audio. I mean, you can tell the difference between a Honda from a Ferrari, from a Renault engine, from a Mercedes engine when you're driving, when you're starting it up, when you're just watching the race.
And I don't know what those differences are, but you can tell when you are in the different manufacturers that there is a different sound. I couldn't tell you if I was in one which sound it is, but it's definitely noticeable. I'll agree with that.
So, huge Formula One nerds will notice that. It does a good job of being a sim. And one of my favorite things about the F1 series, and you might be able to speak on it a little better as a new driver to it, is the difficulty slider that they have. I wish all games had. I mean, depending on your level of skill, both in an F1 car, which has, you know, wicked fast turning in it, and a little bit different of a response than you used to, even if you were a big Gran Turismo fan or Forza player. Driving F1's a little different, and that difficulty slider is there to allow you finite changes. And you can choose to be on a 1, a 39, a 73, all the way up to 110. And each slide up just makes the AI a little bit better, makes them brake a little bit later, accelerate a little bit better, fight a little bit harder.
No, totally, I will agree with that. And you're right. I think more games need to have that because sometimes they just don't hit it all. You know, it's what pro, medium. I mean, I don't even know. I forget what even games even have out there. But sometimes it's not enough of a challenge, or you know, you're on pro difficulty. I know I'm speaking to NHL right now, but you're on pro difficulty, but you're scoring 80 goals a season, you know, and you need that slider to kind of make it competitive. And I think F1 does a really good job of doing that to keep it right where you need to be, where it's not, you're not getting blown away, but you're not just smoking the competition. So the slider is amazing, and I think more games should incorporate that.
So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, just like I did up at the top, I'm completely biased toward it. So let me get my smoke show out of the way before you get a real first-timer's perspective of it. Absolutely a buy for me. I ended up buying this game 3 times over for different people just to do the 2-player career with them because I love the F1 game so much. I mean, it is... I ended up buying a whole sim rig, got the wheel for it. It is taking it to another level for me, and this is my go-to game if I ever have half an hour to play something. I'll jump into a quick race, to a time trial, online, whatever it is. I loved everything about it. Is there enough over previous years to say you have to get this one, even if you played 2020? The physics are a little different. The handling's a little different. The team updates are there. Breaking Point was a one-time play and kind of forgettable. I think that's more for new players. But I love the game so much. It's 100% a buy for me.
So coming from a non-racer, new to the series, I would probably say wait for a sale. It's a good game. If you're not big into racing at all,
Boo.
I know, I'm saying it, you're going to hate it. But again, if you're not big into racing, if you can get this for a deal, I think, what is it? Hell, it's what, $60 right now, I think, for PS4, PS5. It might be a little bit more, maybe. If you can get this for $30, $40, you know, I think you got yourself a deal. Or pass entirely if you're just not into racing. I will say, though, if there's any part of you that enjoys racing games, it's not a bad racing game as someone who's new to the series at all. And if you do enjoy F1 in the slightest degree, not a bad game to pick up, though, from a new perspective.
Sure, and bugs are still prevalent there, just like any other Codemasters game. You'll have some weird happenings where You might get some damage for no reason. You might get stopped. Safety car might mess up. Some weird things will happen when you play hundreds of hours of it like I have, but it's so few and far between that I think it's a real step forward from previous seasons.
And I thought of something too about sounds and audio. If you are probably a PS4 and PS5 user, when you're hovering over the game icon in the homepage, the audio will blow your damn eardrums out of your head. So, just FYI.
They think they have the most banging soundtrack ever, and they want you to hear it, no matter if you're in the headphones or not.
You will hear it afterwards.
And not anything else because you'll be deaf. It's ridiculous, but great game. I think tentative, depending on how you feel about racing, how you feel about Formula One. My suggestion would be log into Netflix, watch all 3 seasons of Drive to Survive, immediately buy the game, and play nothing else for the next year. And if you do that, I'll see you on the leaderboards.